Hey, hey. Hi, guys. All right, this is an urgent message. I do these when something unexpected pushes me to do so. Honestly, today it was just everything seemed really fast paced. Everything was pushing me really fast. My dad was pushing me, the running late to a meeting, all kinds of things just were pushing today as fast as possible. I was like, let's do an urgent message because I feel like there's something that needs to come out, and it's obviously like full steam ahead. If anybody's driving too fast today, slow down, slow down. We have the star, we have the Eight of Swords in the reverse. This looks like somebody is, I don't know if they had like an epiphany in the shower this morning about how to get themselves unstuck, and now they cannot wait to go and implement this new idea that they have. This could be an Aquarius, could also potentially be a Libra or a Gemini with that Eight of Swords. But we have somebody who's literally like had a breakthrough moment. We have a 10 of coins. It's sideways here, but we can see, I definitely think this is like somebody woke up with this idea, this energy that kind of like is shaping the way they're thinking, shaping their entire day. We see them getting like wrapped up. I don't know if somebody is a toddler who normally is like refusing to eat their little oatmeal or something, but or pudding or something, but it feels as if a character has had a breakthrough. The window is open. To me, that represents freedom, and a cat always represents a sense of freedom. Who is this that is breaking free of something? They're no longer stuck trying to work with somebody who doesn't want to like cooperate. We have a 2 of coins. This is somebody who's been like literally stuck in their head, possibly for quite some time. Do I do this? Do I do that? Which door do I go through? Whomever this is, and now that could be an earth sign as well, they have, it's almost like somebody had an out of body experience, or they caught a flash of what their entire life is going to be if they keep trying to stay and cooperate with someone who doesn't want to cooperate with them. And I think this is a person breaking free instead and saying, you know what, I've just realized you can't cooperate with someone who doesn't want to. Instead, it's time that you allow yourself the chance to say, I did my best and now I'm going to let go. I'm going to go ahead and free my own self. I'm going through that open doorway. Whomever they've been dealing with, this could be a divine masculine who'd been dealing with somebody that they were trying to like mediate things with, trying to work things out with. Hanged man, and we've got the Page of Wands sideways. I feel like enough's enough. I feel like if somebody was dragging their feet and wasting, I'm going to say, our masculine's time. Now, I don't read for gender, so please bear in mind this could be a feminine as well, but boy, we have a lot of masculine characters here. It feels as if he was being puppeted and he finally realized it, and he was maybe trying to make nice. Okay, I'm going to try really hard to play along. This person seems to want to drag their feet. Maybe this was about a divorce, and a person has been intentionally dragging their feet, and he was like subjected to their whims and their delays. And at this point, he's like, no more. I realize it's not going to work. And if he has had interest elsewhere that he's been hiding, we do have a mask here. If he has had interest somewhere else that he'd like to go, maybe he'd been trying like not to mention that, or trying very hard to keep that secret. Maybe that's the reason that this other individual has been slow walking everything, delaying, like wanting to kind of see what's his plan, where's he going. I almost think this is him either taking off the mask and saying, you know what, it doesn't matter. There will never be a time where this person will gracefully, sign the divorce papers, or gracefully, close things out. So there's no point in me not trying to pursue the life that I want to live. I'm sorry, but this is what it looks like a masculine is leaving behind. We have a Queen of Swords. Hang on, we'll see who this is. She's in a wedding outfit. Is this who he wants to go toward, or is this, because we have a hint of a romance here. We have a 7 of Cups, we have a King of Swords, we have a 9 of Cups. I'm going to say his epiphany that has suddenly struck And by the way, we have been getting stories like this lately. Like there's been a big, like, we just came through that 1111 portal. We had some great messages yesterday for the 1111, but if a portal represents like a threshold, a doorway, a change, we step across the threshold and now we're into the next chapter of life and we're going to do things differently. I kind of think maybe that's why we're getting some of these storylines. But in this case, the urgent message for him is time to go, because I've got to walk across that threshold. Otherwise, I'm never going to start the next chapter of my life. He does not know how things are going to work out with this Queen of Swords. He may need to contact her, connect with her. I don't know if he's worn a lot of faces, if he's been spying on her sometimes under assumed identities. It feels as if this is the person he thinks he could have great happiness with. This is the person he'd like to have as a partnership. But he's needed to let go or extricate himself from a previous connection here. And that's what he finally realized, is that I've been trying to exit nicely, but I finally have realized there is not going to be like a perfect way to do this, because somebody has not wanted to cooperate. Whomever he's needed to part ways with, it's like the only way to part ways is to just go ahead and do it. There's not going to be this perfect situation because they keep delaying on purpose, which means if I allow this any longer, I'll never get to this Queen of Swords. I'll never get to her. I'll never get a chance to be in the relationship that I want to be in. Can we go back? I just want to see what or whom is the situation he's been stuck in. I was suggesting like someone who didn't want to, file the paperwork or something for a divorce. We do have Lovers, and we have that Three of Pentacles. It is definitely, it was someone where once upon a time there had to have been a love story. Once upon a time there had to have been something really important between himself and this person who could have been a Gemini. Then there was supposed to be collaboration, cooperation. This may have always been a situation that had more to do with the appearance of a romance, but it actually had more to do with money. This is the scenario that he was embroiled in or chose to be in. But it feels like there was a lot of growth. This could have been a long-term connection, is what it seems like to me. This could have been, with an Eight of Pentacles, and we did see that Ten of Pentacles sideways. I almost think maybe he got married young to somebody in the storyline, and that relationship, it was a lengthy one. There was a lot that maybe was built, but then there was also a lot of growth. He does sit here in the darkness, and he's got just one candle lit, and we see the skull sitting here, and let me ask what his messenger has been telling him, because I feel as if he has had a message coming in from his guides for quite some time, like sitting there in the night. Maybe he's had a lot of sleepless nights, realizing he was in a connection that maybe he never got into for all the right reasons, with that Lover's card being there, and then the Three of Pentacles, almost like, was this a relationship more of finances? Is that the connection he's been in? And his guides, let me see. The guides have been saying Six of Pentacles, Seven of Pentacles, the Boy of Cups. Well, there's definitely something, this is like the Knight of Cups. So there's definitely the desire to move forward. This is about time, right? We have all these time pieces here. So his guides have been saying to him, how much time are you going to spend giving to something, building something, if that's not actually where you authentically want to be? Because you can give and you can build, especially in a financially based relationship, but is it emotionally satisfying? If in truth what you would prefer is an emotionally satisfying relationship, then you're going to need to detach yourself from a financial scenario. And we see dinosaurs here, so I'm going to say the person that he may have been with, there's nothing to say this was a karmic, okay? It just might have been a relationship that was built more on stability. Maybe, you first meet someone and it seems like, well, we'll be harmonious together, and we can even convince ourselves that, there's some love. But if you look closely, this is two people holding hands and like reaching for just a little peck. It doesn't really look like a hot-blooded romance, or I don't know, it almost feels more of like a relationship of convenience, or like there never was quite the attraction, but there was a sensibility to getting together. So if that's the kind of relationship that they had been in for a period of time, it makes sense that of course they stayed for, seemingly quite a bit of time. And the guides have been whispering to them in all these sleepless nights, and over time you do realize that this is what your life is made up of, is you are building, consistently giving your time, your energy, and building a life with a person, all the while wishing you could pursue something of the heart or something for your emotions, but you can't do both. Um, so I think this is not his karmic per se. This is more the relationship that made sense at one point, but not fulfilling for the emotions. Why does it appear that that person he was in that connection with, possible Gemini, was like unwilling to either sever connections or unwilling to, release him? With the Nine of Wands, it says, who says that they were the ones slowing it down? It might have been him not really ready to release himself until now. So he's the one who's having that epiphany in the shower in the morning, saying, do you know what? The only way I'll ever, well, I don't know though. We do have the Two of Swords. The only way I'll ever move on is if I move on. I'm not sure. This could represent that Queen of Swords that he has on his mind. Can I go again on that Two of Swords? Tell me the Two of Swords. Five of Wands. Definitely, I think he has been bogged down in his own thoughts about, so what if I did leave a relationship that maybe had security but not emotion? It almost says he's the one who is needed to make that choice for himself. I don't know anymore that it looks like the person he'd been in that long-term connection with and built a lot with was the one delaying him. It looks like he delayed himself. It looks like, if anything, the thought of going toward a Queen of Swords, and this could be that a Queen of Swords blocked him, and he could have been thinking, oh my God, I've been living life between doors, staying and building someplace, but having my emotions that I wanted to give to the Queen of Swords. I could see why a Queen of Swords might have blocked him, because he was the one indecisive. And we did see that on that Two of Wands card. We saw him between worlds. I thought it was him not knowing how to like nicely handle closure, and somebody that was preventing him from having closure so he could move toward the Queen of Swords. It's not. It's him himself that was the blockage. Why were you not really ready? What was the deal with that Nine of Wands? I mean, obviously that's a wounded warrior, right? So Queen of Pentacles, hang on. Six of Swords. So some kind of worthiness concern, something that he had to move on from. I mean, on one hand, this could have had to do with fear of walking away from money, knowing that if he chooses the Queen of Swords, there could be, financial distress, because it did say that he had built finances with someone else. I don't know, though. There's also the fear of real vulnerability. You know what I actually think this is? I think his bigger fear is, it might have, and this could explain why he was ever in a relationship that was more a marriage of convenience, or a relationship of, financial collaboration instead of one that was built upon love. It might be because if he has unhealed wounds and traumas, he might have been intentionally choosing a relationship that didn't require him to like be vulnerable, to open up. This Strength card is all about vulnerability, right? She has no clothes on. If he was not ready and thought at one point, I never want to get into a relationship where I would really be vulnerable with anyone, where I would really be fully investing in letting somebody get to know every part of myself. So I would rather have relationships where they don't ask me too much about me. We have more of like a financial kind of relationship. That's what our bonds are made off of, is we, casually cohabitate, but we don't get too much into each other's details of who we are. That might have been a motive for him to choose a relationship that intentionally avoided an emotional attachment because that vulnerability was something he was not sure he'd ever be ready to have. And over time, that seems to have changed, which means now he can't stay in a relationship where there's not the emotional component because he wants an emotional component, which is ironic because let's not forget that Queen of Swords is probably our least emotional of our queens, right? And very much more logical, but still he has more emotion, an emotional bond for the Queen of Swords. I feel like we may have to do a part 2 because I don't know if I'm going to fully get to understanding the interaction with the Queen of Swords and the King of Swords, the person that he wants to morph into, and the relationship he'd like to now pursue. Let me just ask briefly, what's going to happen with the person that he's had a stable financially beneficial connection to? I just want to check up on them for a moment, make sure that they're all right. 5 of Cups sideways. That minimizes the amount of like sorrow or disappointment. Ace of Cups, 2 of Cups. Hang on now. Have they fallen for somebody else? Ace of Swords. How interesting. It is very possible that the person he's been in a financially stable connection to, it's very possible that that individual, we'll say she, has actually met someone else that she has not yet dared gravitate toward because these doors are still closed. But Ace of Cups, Ace of Swords, and that 2 of Cups, I think she either has met someone that is very important to her, almost like maybe she was going to be exiting stage left soon anyway, but she hadn't told him this yet, or she has hoped to meet somebody like this but hasn't allowed herself to be vulnerable enough to pursue that. There's something here about like it's not that big of a sorrow. There's almost like he might be saying, man, I'm going to be kind of, I know that I have to leave this and I really need to do it sooner rather than later because it's time that I let go of this, stable financial connection. I hope that I don't, cause her grief. And I would say he's not going to be causing her grief at all. If anything, I would say he's the one who might kind of get a cold glass of water, splashed, in the sense that he may not realize she has developed deep feelings for someone else. This might be the perfect time for these two to part ways. If they're both ready to be emotionally available to other people, because we don't know what her motives were for being with him, but if she's ready to move on as well, that's actually, I'm just relieved to see she moves into a connection that would be more satisfying for her. We did not get a chance to talk about this yet, so I am going to do a part 2. There will be a free link right there in the description box. Thank you guys so much for giving this a thumbs up and subscribing if you do enjoy my storytelling. I really appreciate you guys. Don't forget, I am going live this week as well, doing some storytellings for subscribers and members, so keep your notification bells turned on as well. All right, I'll see you in part 2. Bye for right now.